Hey guys, what's up? It's Ollie with Kate the Jeep and the 511 Jeep JKU project. I'm here today at Premier West Gears, where we're going to be installing our 513 gears from our stock 410 Rubicon. Cannot wait, let's get started. This place is awesome. They service an area of 100 miles around Riverside. They accept all major credit cards. They service all kinds of shops. So as long as you have a lift and you're within range, they'll come to you. Give them a call, 951-320-1390. So right now, they're going to remove the diff cover. On the front, they've already removed, they're getting the tires off. And this is pretty normal, like you guys just attack everything as a group, huh?
Correct.
How long does this normally take?
Normally 2 hours.
2 hours, wow. That is a fast way to drain it. So this is Miguel. He's owner of Premier West Gears, and he works with his son, who I've been speaking with, Carlos. Carlos, thanks so much for having us here, man.
Thank you. Thank you, Premier West.
Yeah, appreciate it. And this is a family business. They service a lot of the top shops out here in Southern California. They have a full mobile service that a lot of shops use. As opposed to wanting to specialize themselves, they'll hire out Carlos and his team over here at Premier West, and they'll go out to the shops, they'll go out to different locations, and they'll actually change out the gears on site. So it's a very cool thing they have going on here. So the brakes have to get removed because the axles have to come out, right?
Correct.
So they're going to start removing everything that they need to in order to get the axles out, to then swap out the gears. This comes out just to clear.
Correct.
Yeah, clear the room. Now this is just the coolest way of draining that fluid, and just hammering the side and watching it all come out. They leave one bolt up at the top, huh?
Yeah, so it doesn't come out funny.
Yeah, it's so rad. So we're gonna let them go ahead and remove all the parts. We're gonna do some photos and then come back and see where we're at. So right now they're removing the electrical locker on the stock Dana 44s to get ready to remove all the diff components. While they mess with that, we'll go up to the back and see what Carlos's dad's up to. So Carlos's father, Miguel, basically founded this with his brother. Just so fast at doing this. He just knows exactly what to do and how to do it. All right. Second axle's out in the rear. Now I assume he's going to probably disconnect the locker. It's just amazing that they do the front and back. It's just so quick. On the front, they're just getting the axles out. They've already got the locker disconnected. Miguel's now disconnecting the rear locker. And he's just flying through this all by himself. We got two guys in the front and Miguel in the back, and Miguel is just killing it. So the stock gears are removed. Now the pinion's got to get removed and then replaced with the new 513s from Yukon. All right, the front axles are getting pulled out so that the front gear, stock gears can come out as well. So here's our 410s, and here's the new 513s that are going to go in. So the bearings get reused?
You can just use them.
Okay. The Yukon kit comes with everything you need then, right? All the new bearings.
Yes. Yes. It comes with the shims, the new bearings, the carrier bearings, pinion bearings, the new crush collar, pinion nut, pinion seal, and of course your RTC
Ring bolts.
and then the ring bolts.
RTV and then thread locker too.
Yeah.
Awesome. He's gone ahead and applied a little bit of the thread locker that comes with the kit onto each one of the bolts. That's to prevent anything from backing out and causing a catastrophic failure. You can see it's not the most simple thing. A lot of the parts have to be removed in order to get to the gears. So people tend to think, oh, I'll just do it in my garage, but there's a lot more to it. And here comes the front. So just like the rear, the stock ring is going to be removed and replaced with the new 513 ring. Right now the rear drive shaft is being separated from the diff housing, which is connected to the pinion. So this is in order to get the pinion out. On the front drive shaft is being removed from the rear of the diff housing. The drive shaft is being removed, which connects to the yoke, which is what connects to the pinion, which is necessary in order to remove the pinion from the diff housing. You can see in the rear drive shaft is being removed. In anticipation of removing the yoke to get the pinion out. And out comes the pinion.
Crush sleeve.
The crush sleeve? Those aren't reused, right?
Those get reused. No, we get a new one,
You get a new one.
which is in the kit.
So that's basically the seal between the back of the pinion and the yoke,
Between
The two
the both bearings.
between both bearings.
Those
Okay.
two bearings.
That's what you need
Let
to
me
know.
take this.
That's what you need to know how to crush.
Got it. Oh yeah, there's the bearing right there.
Between those bearings.
Okay. Got it. So that bottom bearing actually slides and meets up. I see. Huh. So we'll compare the stock pinion to the new 513 pinion and see what that looks like. So the stock 410 pinion is actually a lot thicker than the new 513. That's because
So-
this one's going to have a lot more revolutions.
So that difference is 513s have 8 teeth on the pinion,
Okay.
and the 410s have 10 teeth on the pinion.
This is why we're going to get a lot faster revolution.
Correct. 10 teeth, 8 teeth. So it's 8 by 41.
Okay.
41 teeth on the rear,
Got it.
which you divide those and it gives you the ratio 513.
Okay, so the race is going first. So now he's greasing up one of the bearings.
That's correct, the front pinion bearing. So the first time it turns, it has some kind of grease.
Got it.
Normally they go lubricated by the oil. But since they're new, we gotta grease them up.
And this also gets kind of pressed in. Huh?
Correct. Same over there in the front,
So-
we're removing the...
The process is the same on the front side.
Correct. We're removing the pinion races.
Got it. So the baffle just got removed?
The baffle with the pinion race.
Okay. So what's getting reused off of the old pinion?
So now we're removing the pinion bearing
Okay.
so we can look at the shim that it has underneath.
Pinion depth.
Pinion depth.
And then is that what you're going to use to determine?
Correct. From that we have to determine how much more we gotta use or remove.
To shim for the new?
Correct, for the new wheel. We gotta determine what pinion depth to use.
Okay. The pinion depth gets determined by the old pinion shim.
Correct. Pinion bearings out.
So the pinion bearing kind of has to get pressed now. Which is what that tool does.
Bearing
The bearing tool, okay? Now let's see which one is the shim. That's the shim? That's what's going to determine the pinion depth to the new pinion when we install it. So we're gonna add about 5 more thousandths onto the stock shim, which is measuring at 43 thousandths, to give us a total of 48, which Miguel's saying is a good sweet spot to have.
And every gear is different.
Every gear is different.
Every setup's different. So those are carrier shims. Same function as pinion depth, but the carrier, you move the carrier from side to side, versus pinion is out and in.
See, these are on the left
and right.
Left and right side, okay. Is it similar to the pinion where you measure from the old shim and then figure out your depth? Or is this kind of a trial and error?
Correct.
More trial and error?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On this, you normally try it with the stock one to see how much you set up.
And is it like where you guys have done so many of these, you kind of figure it out, or are they all different from Jeep to Jeep?
They're all different.
All different, okay.
Yeah. And also with Jeeps, people install lockers, AVDs, E-lockers.
There's a lot of different...
And all those manufacturers don't make it exactly perfect to the stock lockers or closets.
Got it. So the dip is going back in with a general shim of what Miguel feels like it should be at. And then there's going to be some measurements done in order to ensure that it is indeed correct or incorrect. And we may have to remove everything again, re-shim and reinstall. So the process is pretty labor intensive, or it can be really labor intensive. Again, which is one of the big reasons why you want to take it to a shop who really knows what they're doing. Because if you do this wrong, you've just ruined over $1,000 worth of parts. So Miguel's hammering in and he's checking for play between the ring gear and the pinion to make sure it's seated. So the main caps are in.
Now he just got a feel of the backlash. Now we're using a dialer.
Okay.
To check.
So this is one of the specialized tools.
You gotta check the backlash.
And
the backlash is to measure how much room is between the pinion and the ring gear, which that allows how much oil to go in as well.
Got it.
Between the pinion.
So what's the number we're kind of looking for here?
I'm looking for 6 to 8. Little too much right now. It's 12 right now. So I have to take.
You have to close backlash.
So what does that mean? Do we have to increase the shim amount?
Or move it from one side to the other.
Got it. So right now there's a little bit too much play. We're at 12. We want to get to 6, so half of that.
6 or 8.
6 or 8. Okay. You want to explain the paint?
So the paint is to check the pattern to see how central is the pinion depth as well.
Okay.
So right now he's going to have to remove the carrier. We'll kind of want to make sure that the pinion depth is aligned as well.
What's an ideal, what are we going to see right now?
You want to make sure that the bite pattern is centered.
Centered, so we're going to see like...
Kind of like the way the Yukon had marked it.
Okay, I see.
That's the pattern you kind of want to get.
Got it. Do they do that as a guide?
They do that, no, when they do their test.
On this.
So we look pretty center.
Yeah.
Is that good?
No, it's not good.
It's too far in.
Too far in?
Too far in and center.
Oh, you want it to come out a little bit to the outside of the teeth.
Yeah.
That means it has too much depth.
Got it.
So they got to remove shim. So we got to take everything apart again.
And this is normal.
People that don't know what they're doing, they think it's a good pattern, and we'll leave it like that, which will ruin the gears and we'll out.
So like it's center, it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've just determined that our backlash is a little bit off, and as well as our pinion depth is a little bit too deep. How many tries does it usually take?
Roughly, we always try to get it on our first try.
Sure.
But normally for us, 2 or 3.
Two
max.
or 3. Because you have the numbers.
Correct.
You know what you got to take.
You know how much 1,000 of an inch, 2,000 of an inch does. People that don't know what they're doing, 10,000 of an inch, 5,000, they don't know how much that's going to do of movement.
Right.
So that's very important to know.
So for the front pinion, you have to use
The press.
the actual press in order to get the bearing out on the front. So now that that's done, we're going to go back in and install it on the front. So they got the front pinion installed, and we're about to go through a similar process on the front. While the rear gets removed again and re-shimmed. So we're going to go back through the process of removing the bearing, the pinion bearing, and then what are we doing? We're removing part of the shim? Okay, we're taking out a shim.
And then the technician determines how much to remove.
Okay,
Based on experience, there's not really a guide for that.
got it.
So based on the pattern, he kind of has to give it a judgmental, an estimated guide.
So unlike Backlash, when it comes to the pinion, there's no set measurement that you come away with. You don't have a number.
No,
You just have to feel it.
You normally start off with a factory set.
Got
That's
it.
a good start off point. And as you've seen, we started off pretty much at stock, and it didn't work. So,
Okay.
and every manufacturer is a different setup.
Okay. So we started at 48 here. So what do we trim it to now?
He probably removed anywhere from 8 to 10. Eso lo agarra ahí otra vez.
Now the yoke's being reinstalled.
Correct.
We're going through the process one more time. Main caps are going in now on the front. So we're going to go ahead and measure the backlash on the front ring and pinion. Four, so is 4 good?
We gotta check the bite pattern as well.
Okay.
Same.
So it all plays together.
Correct.
So everything has to be on point.
Correct.
Got it.
So he's gonna measure the pattern now to see how centered it is or what he needs to do
Got it.
at this point.
This is the biggest part of the gear install, where the measurements are highly critical
Correct.
to ensure longevity
Correct.
in the lifespan of the parts.
Correct.
Because if it was just as easy as just installing it, you wouldn't have a whole you wouldn't have a whole shop dedicated to just this work, huh? So what we're looking for here is to get the paint kind of worn out in the middle on the outside, right?
Correct. Same thing, too much pinion depth.
Too much pinion depth. So now we have to remove some of the shim.
You gotta remove the locker, main cap. You gotta remove the main cap, pull the locker out, and again remove the pinion, and also remove the bearing of the pinion to remove pinion depth.
Right. And then what we want to do is decrease our pinion
Correct.
depth by decreasing the amount of shim.
Correct. Because the pinion is too in right now. So we want to pull it out a little bit.
So the main cups are going back in. Things have been re-shimmed on the rear.
We're gonna go for try number 2.
This is attempt number 2 here. Let's see If Miguel's lucky. I don't think luck has a lot to do with it though.
No, it's mostly experience.
Mostly 30 years of experience going down right now.
Six.
That's where you want it to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
This is the coast side of the ring gear. You
Okay.
see how it's evenly proportional all the way through the tooth.
Right?
That's where you need to be.
Okay, so this is good.
That's the coast. Correct.
Okay.
So now we're going to show you the drive side.
And that's better now.
That's perfect.
That's perfect.
That's
Okay.
where you want to be.
Awesome. All right.
So now it's putting everything back together.
The rear electric locker is going back in, getting reconnected. So is there a trick with the RTV? Like too much, too little?
Correct. You just have to have the you got to imagine you're building a gasket with the RTCV. So you got to make sure you're consistent all the way throughout the cover.
Got it. Like an even bead and then evenly spread.
Correct.
Miguel is now reinstalling the bolts on the rear diff cover. So now everything is torqued down.
Yeah, then he's going to double check, make sure they're all torqued evenly. And we always like to put the cover first, so it gives it time for the silicone to dry.
Okay. Before we add in the diff fluid.
So we start putting everything back together, sliding an axle, putting in brakes.
Oh,
drive
before
time.
we reinstall the axles and all that stuff. Got it.
So it gives it time to dry, so when the customer can drive out and leave, you don't have to wait for it.
Got it. How long does that normally take?
For it to dry,
Yeah.
15-30 minutes. It says better to wait an hour. But
This is the second attempt at seeing if we have our backlash and our depth correct. 6, perfect. We've got our main caps back on. We've got our main caps back on, and basically it's going to be time to start reinstalling everything. Front diff cover is going on. So one of the most important things after everything's done and said is the new gear break-in, and here I've got the exact break-in procedure from Yukon. So you want to make sure that for the first 100 miles you avoid any heavy acceleration. They tend to want you to keep it under 60. Drive the vehicle real light for the first 15 to 20 miles and stop, let the differential cool before you move on. So if you get it done and then you have like a low commute to work, that's probably the perfect amount of driving to do for the first 500 miles or 100 miles. And then before you really start to tow or really put the gears under any major stress, you're going to want to give it at least 500 miles before doing all that. And you know, we've installed a lot of weight and with the tent and the armor and the bumpers and everything, so we're already under a lot of load. So we're going to be taking it easy for at least 500 miles before we really take her out and get on the trail. Just good longevity, good to know. And don't forget, you're going to need to flush that fluid after 500 miles. So it's okay to use a little bit of something inexpensive. Get that 500 mile braking period done, and then go for the good stuff after that. Carlos and Miguel, thank you so much. I'm so impressed by how awesome and efficient you guys worked. Cannot wait to get the rig out on the road. Thank you again.
No, thank you. Thank you for choosing Premier West Gears. You can check us out at premierwestgears.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook. Our telephone number is 951-320-1390. You can ask for Carlos or Miguel.
Awesome. And then you guys service like a 100-mile radius from Riverside, right?
We service a 100-mile radius from Riverside. We handle a lot of shops around.
Okay, very cool. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, thank you.
So the guys here over at Premier West have done an amazing job on getting everything together in such a short amount of time. It's been really impressive to watch and witness. As you can see behind me, everything's back on the Jeep. We're about to lower Kate, and then we're going to program the ECU to acknowledge the 37-inch tires as well as the new 513 gears, and then go for a test drive with Carlos and get a feel for how she's running now. So now we're going to set the tire size and the gear ratio.
So you want to go under vehicle settings. Just set the tire size first. What did it measure?
36.
So you got to make sure you guys actually measure the tires with the tape measure. Because if it says 37 on the tire, doesn't really mean they're 37-inch tires. So that will affect the programmer.
Interesting. That's something a lot of people don't know. Very cool.
So it's at 36. That's what the tire's measured. We'll hit save. It says turn off ignition. Hit OK. Turn ignition on. Hit OK. So the tire size has been modified.
Okay, cool.
Now we got to adjust the gear ratio. So you got to click the gear ratio you installed. We installed 513s.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and do 513s. Very simple instructions.
So each step is only affecting that certain parameter here. So all we're doing is we're affecting the tire size and the gear ratio. Now, the Diablo Sport Trinity 2 will also do this, but this is a tool that they use, and you can use too. Super simple to use, super chips. Process takes about 5 minutes, start to finish, and you'll be on the road with no engine codes.
No problems. So we got to turn the ignition on. Hit OK. And we're done.
All right.
So now you can turn off the Jeep position, unplug the programmer from the OBD2.
And you're good to go, huh?
Plug in his existing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carlos.
Thank you.
Let's get this puppy on the road. All right. Me and Carlos are taking her out for the initial test drive. So is the RPM important too?
The RPMs are going to be increased than the way you had it at 410s. So the RPM should be back to factory.
Right.
With the 513s with that tire size.
I guess my main question is, and on the initial driving, the braking period, do we want to keep the RPMs low?
Correct. No
Okay.
heavy acceleration. You got to baby it.
Got it.
Right. And then we're going to try to get it up to at least 60 miles an hour.
Okay.
Make sure everything's good on the test drive. But we got to get to that speed gradually.
I'll just take your cues. I can already feel the response.
You feel a big difference?
Yeah, big difference. Just that little bit. I'm like, oh, I'm getting to speed faster.
Correct. So right now we still try to. We know we're all excited with the new gears installed.
There's a urge.
There's an urge
that I just want to floor it and really feel how she feels, but you're right. We got to take it easy.
You gotta, exactly.
We want these gears to last.
Correct.
And with the proper braking period, I mean, these gears are good for years, right?
Years. Correct.
So like we spoke about earlier with the Yukon braking process, the general rule of thumb for when we're braking in our gears is we want to modulate the speed.
Correct.
Different speeds, even when you're cruising on the freeway. Try not to go over 60.
Correct.
No more than about 30 minutes of driving time.
Correct.
If we hit 30 minutes, we want to stop.
And right now the good thing is the weather.
Okay. Yeah, it's raining. It hasn't been raining forever, and now it's raining.
Yeah, so that helps you. It keeps your diff cooler.
Okay.
So what we're trying to avoid is to heat up your diff.
Got it.
That's the main thing.
For that initial period of time.
Correct.
I should basically set my trip, and once that puppy hits 500, all bets are off.
Correct.
So what should happen is we go through our braking procedure. As long as everything's done right, at 500 miles, we want to drain.
Correct.
And refill.
Correct.
And then at that point, we're pretty much good.
Then you can drive it like a stolen Jeep.
Like a stolen Jeep. Or a supercharged Jeep.
Or a supercharged Jeep.
Which
correct.
this happens to be, so I will definitely be having some fun. So we want to hit 60, just not flooring it to 60, right?
Correct. Gradually, like you would drive normal. 55, 60.
So we're 55.
Yeah.
And we're listening for a hum.
Correct.
Do you hear anything?
They're good.
We're good. We just hit 60. Beautiful.
Yes.
Cool. Now, sometimes you said some vehicles, some gears will actually have a hum, even if they've been installed perfectly fine, right?
Correct. And that's just a manufacturer defect. There's nothing wrong with the gear. You don't have to worry. But if it bugs you, then you just have to switch them out.
Got it.
But once you're getting to those ratios, 513, 488, there's always a possibility of gear hum.
Okay. But we got lucky. Doesn't sound like anything's humming.
Correct.
So now it's just the long process of braking.
Correct. Which
right.
everybody hates.
I mean, all you want to do is go out there and wheel and drive and get on the trail, but we're going to have to take it a little easy.